We are now one of the fastest growing communities, not only in this region, not only in the state of Texas, but also in the United States. So from 2022 to 2023, we were the 21st fastest growing community in the United States. And then from 2020 to 2023, we ranked as the 25th fastest growing community in the United States. So those are definitely some accolades that I'm not sure Seguin's ever been on those lists before, but it's really exciting to see. A lot of these, fastest growing community accolades have traditionally been held by, the city of New Braunfels, I think previously probably the city of Spurt and Cibolo as well, that, they've seen the growth, hit them a little bit before we've started to see it here in Seguin.
Welcome, everyone, to the BDI podcast. My name is Bruce Bernard. I'm chairman of Bernard Donegan Insurance. We're excited this morning and pleased to have a special guest with us, Josh Schneuker, from the Director of the Economic Development and Executive Director of the Seguin Economic Development Corporation. Josh has been at the forefront of Seguin's growth, and hopefully we'll be able to dive into a little bit more about the economic development of Seguin and the surrounding area. Thanks for joining us this morning, Josh.
Yeah, good to be here, Bruce. Really excited to talk with you, and really happy that the BDI team extended the invite out.
Well, economic development is an exciting topic, but some people, my experience has been over the years, when they hear economic development or another buzzword, growth, they get a little nervous about it in a community. Mm-hmm. Seguin's kind of been the sleeping giant over the last 30, 40 years as communities along the Guadalupe River like Bernie and New Braunfels have kind of taken the highlight as they've grown and expanded, and Seguin's kind of stayed much like it's been for many years. But here in the recent years, we've really started to see a lot of growth, and having visited with you a little bit about it, it's pretty exciting to see what's coming up for Seguin. Why don't you give us a little bit about what the estimates are for Seguin's growth over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, for sure. So, you're exactly right. You can look back at the data and, the growth of Seguin pretty much pre-2027 was very slow growth. And, we've really started to explode in terms of the new residential developments that are being here. Our population growth is really off the charts right now. So as of today, the city of Seguin estimates our population to be right around 38,000. This is actually about a 24% increase from the 2020 decennial census count, where we officially clocked in just under 30,000 in population there. So we've really seen some substantial growth over the past 4 years. And it's the U.S. Census population estimates that have really kind of caught our attention over the past few years, and especially in May when their most recent population estimate numbers came out. Those always kind of lag a little bit behind. So their most recent numbers are as of 2023. And as I mentioned, we have a 2024 estimate out. But the U.S. Census Bureau did estimate from 2022 to 2023, Seguin's population grew at about 7.79%. And then from 2020 to 2023, over that 3-year period, the U.S. Census population estimated that Seguin grew just a little bit over 22% in that 3-year period. So essentially what that means for Seguin is we are now one of the fastest growing communities, not only in this region, not only in the state of Texas, but also in the United States. So from 2022 to 2023, we were the 21st fastest growing community in the United States. And then from 2020 to 2023, we ranked as the 25th fastest growing community in the United States. So those are definitely some accolades that I'm not sure Seguin's ever been on those lists before, but it's really exciting to see. A lot of these, fastest growing community accolades have traditionally been held by, the city of New Braunfels, I think previously probably the city of Schertz and Cibolo as well, that, they've seen the growth, hit them a little bit before we've started to see it here in Seguin. But now Seguin is on that list, and we've hopped over some of those big players that have historically been named the fastest growing communities in this region. So as of today, Seguin is the fastest growing community in the San Antonio metro area in terms of growth on a percentage basis. And we're also the third fastest growing community in the San Antonio-Austin mega region. So when you combine the two metropolitan areas, we're only behind the city of Kyle and the city of Georgetown on that list there. So, those are two rapidly growing communities that have received a lot of notoriety for the growth that they've been experiencing over the past few years. And now we're right there with them in terms of growth. So we expect the population growth to continue. There's nothing that we're seeing that indicates that things are going to slow down in Seguin anytime soon. We've got a lot more housing to be built in our development pipeline that will continue to support further population growth. And by the time we get to 2030, the next decennial census, we believe that our city's population will exceed 50,000. So that is a substantial amount of growth that we're anticipating over a 10-year period. In fact, if our projections hold true, we'd be looking at about a 72% increase in population from 2020 to 2030. And that would easily make Seguin one of the fastest growing communities in the United States over that 10-year period. And just to put that in perspective for everybody, I kind of go back to New Braunfels, and we all know about the growth that they've been seeing over the past several years. And when the 2020 census came out, they were on those rankings of fastest growing communities in the state of Texas and in the United States. In that 10-year period from 2010 to 2020, they grew at a clip of about 56%. And we are anticipating that we're going to kind of blow that out of the water. And even if we come up short of that 72%, we'll still be at least 50% growth in population over the 10-year period. And so I fully anticipate that, Seguin will find its place on that rankings when we get around to 2030. And it's crazy to think that that's not too far, away from happening. But the growth that we have in our pipeline will continue to support further population growth in the city of Seguin.
What my experience has been that people a lot of times get worried about growth, especially in population, wondering about the infrastructure as it relates to that growth and how the city is planning and will continue to plan to support that and infrastructure in so many different areas. Of course, you've got to have water and power and wastewater and transportation. So how do all those things fit in with the city as we're growing our population? Yeah,
there's a lot of coordination. It's the city working with other entities to facilitate a lot of these investments in infrastructure. It's working with our partners in Guadalupe County, working with our regional partners, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, working with TxDOT, our utility providers as well, to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're all aware of the growth that we are seeing now and the growth that we anticipate to happen into the future. And it's making strategic investments in that infrastructure. So we've got several projects going on throughout the city right now to support further expansion of critical infrastructure that will continue to allow our community to grow in the direction that we're headed. So we've got major roadway projects on the north side of Seguin right now. Rudolph Road recently broke ground on an expansion project. There is a phase 2 of that project, which is slated to break ground in late 2025, early 2026. And the portion of that project will essentially build a brand new segment of Rudolph Road from where it ties in currently at Huber Road. There'll be an extension that will take a new portion of Rudolph Road to the north, jog it over to the east, and tie it into Farm to Market Road 20 at State Highway 123. We've also got a project on the books to expand Cordova Road on the north side of town as well. So that is slated to break ground in late 2025, early 2026 as well. And these projects were done in partnership with not only working with the county, but the Metropolitan Planning Organization out of San Antonio. And we were able to receive some grant dollars that will help offset the costs on the city and ultimately the taxpayer here in Seguin to allow for the expansion of those roadway projects. We've also got the big one that I think everybody knows about right now is the Interstate 10 expansion project that's currently under construction here in Seguin right now. So that is specifically here in Seguin. It's a two-phase project. So phase one is what's currently under construction today. That project goes from FM 464 at I-10 on the west side of town, and it'll ultimately go over to I-10 and State Highway 123 bypass. And TxDOT is expanding I-10. They're adding an additional main lane in each direction. They're adding new frontage roads. They're doing interchange improvements. A big one will be at I-10 and 46. Well, there'll be actually a few direct connector ramps to provide just better flow of traffic and access overall. So that's a big project that's underway right now and moving along very smoothly. Actually, right now it's a little ahead of schedule. TxDOT is saying they'll be wrapped up by 2029, but we're fingers crossed we can get through that a little bit sooner now that everything's underway and again moving pretty smoothly on that. We're also making upgrades in our wastewater infrastructure as well. The city of Seguin's Geronimo Creek wastewater treatment plant, as of today, can treat up to about 5.5 million gallons of water per day. We are expanding the treatment capacity at that facility. When we finish up this project, it'll be able to treat over 12 million gallons of water per day. So that will not only allow us to have wastewater infrastructure that's needed to meet the needs of our current residents, but also the growth that we're forecasting as well. And then finally, on the water side, water is critical. In my opinion, water is kind of becoming the new gold in Texas. It is, it can be difficult to find in certain places of the state. And, as we grow, the demand for water grows as well. The city of Seguin is actually in a very good position when it comes to our current water supply portfolio and our long-term portfolio as well to continue to accommodate the growth. We've had some growing pains in areas of town that are in other service territories, but the city has stepped up to assist those other utility providers. In fact, we recently completed essentially kind of a takeover of existing service territory from Springs Hill. So we negotiated a deal with them where we have taken over about 9,500 acres of their territory that used to be served by them on the north side of town. So this is north of I-10 between Highway 46 and 123. Pretty much going up to about Link Road. So the city, we've now gotten state approval, and we are now the official utility provider in that area. But that's kind of just step one of the process. We needed obviously the state approvals to do that, but now it's going to be getting our city water infrastructure up there to serve those new houses and commercial and retail developments up there. So, yeah, it's trying to be, as I guess as forward thinking as we can. Oftentimes that's easier said than done. It costs a lot of money to invest in expanding infrastructure throughout the city, but I think we've got a great team that's working behind the scenes at the city and collaborating with all of our partners, both here at the county, regionally, at the state level, to ensure that we can continue to grow responsibly here in Seguin.
That's tremendous, Josh. Part of economic development, as you increase the population, is providing the services of retail and other things for a community as it grows. For the longest time, Seguin pretty much was a downtown type community. That's expanding, and there's retail options throughout the city, and I think you've even got plans for that to expand to support the population. Can you share with us what's going on in the retail area?
Yeah, we're very excited about the retail. This is one thing we've been working very hard at, pretty much since, I came to Seguin about 9 years ago. We've heard the calls for to grow and diversify our retail base here in Seguin, and it takes a growing population to support new retail coming into your community. And, now that we have the growth coming in, now that, you can pull up a Google Earth aerial of Seguin and actually see the growth of the new housing developments take shape, The data is reflecting the growth now. It's caught the attention of a lot of retailers that we've been courting for years and years and years. So we're very excited to have more retail coming into Seguin. In fact, the past 6 to 8 weeks have been full of nothing but good news when it comes to new retail. So we started out in late August. We were able to announce that Chick-fil-A intends to build a new restaurant here in Seguin, their first restaurant here in Seguin. That has kind of been our rainbow unicorn that we've been chasing for years and years and years, and we're finally able to hunt it down and get them to commit to our market. So they're expecting to break ground in 2025 and hopefully open the same year as well. Usually those are pretty quick construction projects. So they'll be building over at I-10 and 46. A couple of weeks after, we announced that Specs would be leasing space at the Seguin Crossroads Shopping Center here in Seguin. And that shopping center has seen a ton of positive momentum over the past 12 to 18 months. Under the hands of new ownership. The new owners have been able to bring in retailers like Boot Barn and Harbor Freight Tools, now Specs. So when they first bought that shopping center, it was about 30% occupied at the time. They're coming up right now and about 80% occupied. So really exciting to kind of see that as well. We've also seen other retailers like Ross and Marshalls that have come into the market. And again, these to some people might not sound, as the sexiest retailers out there, but these are national retailers that are making investments in Seguin, and that really puts us on the map. But the project that we are most excited about, and I'm actually happy to report that they have actually broken ground on this project, is the Seguin Crossing retail development that is going to be built at I-10 and State Highway 123 at the northeast corner of that intersection, right across the street from the Starbucks and in the vicinity of the Chili's and the hotels over there. So we announced that project just a few weeks ago. That is the largest multi-tenant retail development to be built in Seguin in over 30 years. So that just shows you that things are really starting to change here. And we're excited to announce that some of the tenants that are going to be in that development include Academy Sports and Outdoors, Hobby Lobby, Five Below, James Avery. Those will be some of the main tenants there as well. So we're not stopping there. We know that there's room to grow in terms of more retail options here. But it's projects like this, it's announcements like this that really help put Seguin on the map and help validate our arguments when we're out there continuing to market Seguin to other national retailers who we feel could be very successful in our market given the population we have currently and the growth that we're forecasting into the future.
And that just helps broaden the tax base for the community where you're not relying so much on residential taxes but have retail property taxes and sales taxes to generate into the city and the community coffers to expand services in the city.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing with economic development in Seguin. So our economic development efforts are primarily funded through the Seguin Economic Development Corporation, and that corporation is pretty much 99.9% funded through a quarter cent of sales tax that's collected in the city, and it's allocated to the corporation, where we then use that money on projects like this to market the community to prospects that we're working with day in and day out. So when you compare our economic development corporation to some of our neighboring communities, for example, New Braunfels and Schertz, who have a much larger retail base and a sales tax base, they're bringing in economic development sales tax revenues that easily exceed, $6 million. And for us, 9 years ago when I started here, we were working with a $1.2 million, revenue from this economic development sales tax. Today, we're up to about $2.2 million. But with all the retail that is, right now under construction or slated to start construction over the next few months, that sales tax base is going to grow, and that gives us more money to invest in economic development projects. So, selfishly speaking, I guess from the economic development side of things, we're very excited about bringing in more retail, expanding that tax base. But it also works for the city as well, like you said, diversifying that tax base, giving more money to the city to invest in infrastructure, all those types of things that we need to be a successful community.
Well, Seguin has kind of been unique in the metro area of San Antonio in that for the longest time we've been known for our industry and manufacturing base. I can remember way back 50 plus years ago when places like SMI and Motorola and Hexcel were large employers in this community and provided a lot of jobs for folks who lived in the community. That has kind of continued, and the momentum seems like has really jumped up here in the last few years. Can you share with us what's going on from the industrial manufacturing base that's been a big part of Seguin and hopefully will continue to be?
Yeah, so like you said, some of these companies, SMI, Motorola, Hexcel, they're still technically in operation. A couple of them have some different names now, but SMI is now CMC Steel Texas. Motorola has gone through a couple of name changes. They were Continental, then they were Vitesco Technologies, and as of October 1 of 2024, they're now Schaeffler Automotive Group. So still tied in with their German roots over there, but still manufacturing the same products. And Hexcel still remains a staple of our manufacturing base here in Seguin as well. But the manufacturing industry it's critical to Seguin's overall economy. About 1 in 3 jobs within the Seguin region are in the manufacturing industry. So over 8,000 folks within the Seguin region are employed in that industry. And we continue to add to that as well. It helps that you have some of these big name corporations that have very substantial operations in your backyard. So when you're out there marketing Seguin to other prospective manufacturers or site selection consultants that represent these companies, and you're able to talk to them about the CMCs and the Schaefflers and the Hexcels and the Caterpillars that all have these huge operations in your backyard, it makes selling Seguin that much more easier. And we've been able to capitalize on really kind of telling our story, and not only from the manufacturing base that's here, but from the workforce perspective as well. These companies, when they're making investments to put down a new facility in a community, it's critical that they have the labor. And that's the great thing about having such a strong manufacturing base here is that you have a labor pool that has those skill sets that, can help make an expansion project in Seguin that much more easier to accomplish. So, looking back to 2019, it's kind of when we really started to pick things up with some new manufacturers coming to town.
Caterpillar was kind of the catalyst for that.
Yeah. So Caterpillar, they came in back in 2009, 2010. Right. But again, kind of going back to being able to kind of point back to a Fortune 100 company with 1.9 million square feet of manufacturing space on the ground, that catches a lot of folks' attention. So, being able to kind of use that story of how we were able to recruit Caterpillar here, their importance to the economy, what they do in the community helps sell, again, Seguin to these other prospects that we work with. So back in 2019, it was actually Governor Abbott that personally announced that company that's now under operations here, Teijin Automotive Technologies, would be building their new manufacturing facility in Seguin. That facility became operational in 2021, and they are manufacturing the truck bed for the Toyota Tundra truck, which is obviously manufactured over in San Antonio. So it's capitalizing, I think, on that larger ecosystem that's in place, especially from an automotive manufacturing perspective. We were able to capitalize on recruiting a pretty big supplier to Toyota and bringing them to our community. Shortly after we had that project announced, we were able to announce another project, which has also since become operational, a company called United Alloy. They're based out of Janesville, Wisconsin. They're a big supplier to Caterpillar. For the longest time, they were manufacturing their product up in Wisconsin and shipping it all the way down here to support the Caterpillar operation here in Seguin. We were fortunate enough to be connected to United Alloy by the Caterpillar representatives here in Seguin, and just started really nurturing that relationship with them, and just getting understanding of what their business model is, what their needs were locally, and what their growth model was as well. And we were able to kind of bring those folks in to look at real estate opportunities, and they loved it. They fell in love with Seguin. They fell in love with the idea that they could, have a manufacturing facility so close to Caterpillar and cut down on those shipping costs and other things like that. So they, in late 2020, they became operational with phase one of their operation here in Seguin. They had about 125,000 square feet that they originally built. And not too long after that, they jumped right into phase two, added another 100,000 square feet of manufacturing space. And today they employ over 150 people at that facility supplying Caterpillar. And then we've had some recent successes too. So right next door to United Alloy is a Japanese manufacturer, Maruichi Stainless Tube. They are in the semiconductor industry. They're actually going to be manufacturing stainless steel tubes for all of the semiconductor fabrication facilities being built not only here in Texas, but across the country. So they have just wrapped up construction on their project and are slowly ramping up operations. And when they hit full production over the next couple of years, they'll employ over 100 folks at that facility. And then we had Premium Waters was also one of our most recent announcements. So, earlier I mentioned that we're in a very good place when it comes to short-term and long-term water supply and just our overall water portfolio. And that allowed us to bring another water bottling manufacturer into our community. So we already have Niagara here. One of their competitors came knocking and said, "Hey, we're interested in Seguin. We're interested in this specific piece of property," and we were able to bring them in as well. So they've also since slowly started their operations, and once they're fully up and operational, they'll have over 60 folks working at that facility.
That's tremendous. That's going to provide such a great opportunity for jobs in this community as the population grows and people want to stay and be a part of this community. The workforce is needed for these kinds of businesses, so that's going to be a tremendous asset for the city.
Oh yeah, and that's a huge effort that we're involved in right now is the workforce development. We know that. We can talk about, the big names associated with these companies here. It's great to have, Fortune ranked companies, again, with these substantial operations in your backyard. But you're only as good as the people that support those businesses. And, we're very fortunate that we've got some very good people in our community and the surrounding areas that are employed at these facilities. But we also know that we have to be essentially kind of cultivating the environment for the next generation of workers. Especially in some of these, I guess, industries that, historically, I guess, have had a stigma to them about, being maybe dirty and dangerous, such as manufacturing and skilled trades. So we're very involved in working with our local K through 12 institutions to make sure that we're educating the youth here in Seguin about all of the companies, specifically in the manufacturing sector, construction and skilled trade sector as well, about what they do at their facilities, the career pathways that are available within the manufacturing industry. And, we're not here to, change people's minds. We just want to make sure that they're aware of everything that is out there. So if you are, if you're set on that 4-year traditional college pathway, that's great. But we also want to make sure we can highlight the careers here in Seguin that align with that 4-year degree that you might go after. But then there's also going to be that population that, they don't want to take that route. They would rather immediately enter the workforce, or they would like to go to a 2-year technical college. And we're able to, again, highlight the opportunities that are available here in Seguin for those individuals. So actually last week, we held our annual Made in Seguin high school manufacturing tours. And this aligns with Manufacturing Month, which is actually takes place every year in the month of October. So we had over 180 high school students from Seguin High School, Navarro High School, Southwest Prep, and Marion High School visit manufacturers from across the city. And again, we're focusing on highlighting, what they do behind those walls, the different career pathways. In some instances, we have folks that are working at these facilities do even like mock interviews and things like that. Just again, preparing the kids out there for what they're going to be coming into here post graduation, entering essentially the real world in the workforce as well.
I know TLU's been a great asset to this community in the 4-year college area, but we also, I think you've mentioned in the past, the role that Texas State Technical College plays in us preparing the workforce for the future. How is the Economic Development Foundation kind of working hand in hand with TSTC providing workforce development?
Yeah, TSTC has become a critical component to our workforce development efforts, especially over the past few years. And this all, goes back actually to the previous state legislative session. So Representative Kemple here in Seguin, he spearheaded some legislation that allowed for TSTC to expand their presence in Comal and Guadalupe counties. That legislation passed, I believe, unanimously in both the House and the Senate. Was signed into law by Governor Abbott in June of 2023. And since then, we've been able to bring TSTC into our region. They currently are leasing about 25,000 square feet of space up at the New Braunfels Airport. So they've got kind of a smaller campus that they've established up there. They're currently teaching a few programs up at that facility. Advanced Manufacturing Technician Program in association with the Texas Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. They've also added a welding program and an industrial systems technology program as well. But 25,000 square feet for really the demand that is out here from that perspective is not enough to meet that demand. So we are actively working with TSTC right now to try to facilitate the construction of a brand new full-fledged campus, hopefully here in Seguin. So they're currently evaluating options both in Seguin and in New Braunfels. We obviously would love to have them here in Seguin. We feel that, with our, kind of being a blue-collar community, the manufacturing industry we have here as well, that it's really kind of a match made in heaven. To kind of align everything that we have on that side with the technical college provider in TSTC. So we're hoping, within the next, year or so, we'll have some better direction on where this project is going to head overall. But, we're just excited for the opportunity and really just overall excited that we've finally been able to get a really reputable two-year technical college into our region because, if you don't have that training taking place, it can make it a challenge to, again, have that talent pipeline that you need for your existing companies and the companies that will call Seguin home in the future to be successful.
That's tremendous. That kind of rounds out the whole aspects of economic development and growth in our community, from population to jobs to retail centers. Such an exciting time for Seguin. As we continue to grow, I know you're not directly involved. The chamber probably is more of that, but small businesses have a role to play as we support this growth and the population that comes in. And Seguin has always been real supportive of small business, and hopefully as we grow, they still can feel a part of this growth.
Yeah, I mean, they're a critical component to our economy as well, small businesses, and there's a lot of work being done between the Economic Development Corporation and the Chamber partnering to help support our small businesses. There's always more that can be done, and we definitely are evaluating ways in which we can implement additional programs and things like that to continue to support our small businesses. But a lot of it is continuing to promote shop local. I know that there's a big push for more national retailers to be in the community, but I also like to remind folks of, don't forget what we have in our backyard. We've got a lot of these small businesses and entrepreneurs that kind of fill that void right now. We might not have the big name, sandwich shop or something, but we've got Pecan Town Books and Brews down the street that fills that void. We might not have the Academy yet here in Seguin, but if you need some running shoes, you've got the Suburban Running and Rec over at the Seguin Schoolyard. So it's just trying to, again, amplify, that message of what's here in Seguin, promoting that shop local. we want to do a better job of trying to work with our small businesses to enhance their marketing efforts and help them amplify their own message as well. And then also just be a better resource in connecting them to the other entities that are out there that provide that support. So, a great resource for small businesses that, a lot of folks don't realize that is out there is the Small Business Development Center. And, that those services that they provide to small businesses are actually free of charge. They're 100% confidential. And we've seen some great success stories of small businesses here in Seguin utilizing those services to, either establish a brand new small business, to enhance their marketing, to enhance, anything that they have to do with a small business. So, again, definitely more work to be done in that area. But we're going to continue to make sure that we're addressing the needs and helping our small businesses grow while we see more and more businesses also come in at the same time.
I know you're not directly involved with the downtown projects and things that go on, but I know you're aware of some of the things and you work closely with that. Seguin's got such a unique situation with our downtown, and maybe it's revitalization as we go forward. There's been some start and stop of that, but I know there's some plans for the future. Has the Economic Development Corporation been involved in working with the city and the downtown group?
Yeah, we work actually very closely. We technically have a kind of a director of economic development for the downtown area. His name is Kyle Cram. He's our city's Main Street director. He also oversees our Convention and Visitors Bureau as well. So we've got a great history of working hand in hand with Kyle to help promote downtown. We've done some projects in the past where the EDC has put money into infrastructure projects to support some of the businesses in downtown. So we've done sidewalks, electrical infrastructure upgrades, things like that. But we've really seen some pretty solid progress in terms of investments and new businesses coming into downtown over the years. Obviously the big one I think that everybody talks about, and can't get more Texas than barbecue. But
right.
Having Burnt Bean, the number 4 ranked barbecue joint in the state of Texas, right in the heart of your downtown, bringing in not only folks from Seguin, but really from all over the state, even parts of the different parts of the country as well is really exciting to see, and just the kind of the spin-off effect from that, and it kind of being a destination type business. Folks from Dallas or Houston, they might come in to do a day trip into Seguin, grab some barbecue, and then after that, they'll walk around downtown, check out some of our stores. They might grab a beer or something like that. So it's really, it's not just been beneficial to Burnt Bean, who's obviously having, wild success right now, but it's also helped, with our other businesses in the downtown area as well. But, there's obviously more to do. We feel that, downtown still has a lot of untapped potential, and the city and the Economic Development Corporation and our Main Street program, we want to continue to accelerate revitalization of a lot of our historic buildings, continue to encourage more investment in the downtown area, and then also facilitate, some of these redevelopment projects of properties that, are probably being underutilized at the moment. And, that's why, about a year ago, we started a project that's now known as the Nolte Project. We initiated that, and we purchased the, used to be the Nolte Family Bank building there on the south end of the square downtown. It's currently occupied by Wells Fargo Bank. Some folks in town will also refer to it as the Wells Fargo building or the Wells Fargo redevelopment project. But yeah, we bought that property from Wells Fargo back in January of 2024, and we've been working with a consultant who's helping us determine essentially the highest and best use for the property. So they did their market analysis on Seguin and identified uses that could be supported at the site and could be feasible in partnering with the developer on. We took community input as well, wanted to make sure that we were gathering that input and wanted to ultimately have something on the property that aligned with what the community wanted to see downtown as well. We've taken, from those 2 phases of the project, we've kind of taken that information and then determined we would like to move forward with retail use, office, hotel use, Obviously, with more density on the lot, we're going to need parking as well. So parking structure is involved in this, and even potentially some residential uses on the site as well. So, now that we have those highest and best use recommendations, we then went to rezone the property specifically for those uses. And where we're at right now in this project is we have an RFQ that is out to the development community. We are asking for developers that are interested in potentially partnering with the city on a redevelopment project at the site and helping bring those highest and best use recommendations to reality, to submit their statement of qualifications to the city. And then as we go into 2025, we'll essentially shortlist the developers that submitted their qualifications to the city for consideration and issue an RFP to the top 3 developers and evaluate their proposals on how they want to redevelop the property. And from there, we'll see how the city can fit into working with them through a public-private partnership to facilitate that as well. So it's a very bold and ambitious project, for Seguin and for downtown Seguin. But we feel that right now that the time is right to be bold and ambitious. Everything's trending in the right direction for Seguin at the moment. We've got the attention of developers and investors who are building product throughout the city right now. But you also have to make sure that you're taking care of the core of your city as well. And we want this to kind of be that project that is we can look back on 20, 30 years from now and say, hey, that project, put the wheels in motion for Seguin to have one of the best downtowns in the state of Texas.
That's really exciting. And the fact that we've had a great attraction of the Guadalupe River for all these years, and hopefully as the dam up at McQueenie gets finished, that kind of kicks back off again, and people are coming to the area for recreation as well as to live here and shop here and get jobs here and to support Seguin. So it's an exciting look at the future. Are there other things that you're looking for over the next 5 to 10 years, or have we kind of touched most of those, or have you got some other exciting news for us or visions that you've got for the community?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, we're working on a lot of different things right now. It's being handled in other city departments, but, with economic development kind of touching a little bit of everything, we do get involved every now and then. Not too long ago, we finished up a feasibility study for a hotel convention center project. We obviously have the Seguin Coliseum here, but that is obviously an older facility, and it doesn't have a hotel attached to it, and it's a little off the beaten path. A lot of these facilities now are being built off major thoroughfares, specifically an interstate. So we are right now, working towards trying to get a developer and work with a developer to bring some sort of hotel convention facility to Seguin. We know that there's a demand for that. The feasibility study, kind of validated, our thoughts on that. There's a lot of, again, big businesses here in Seguin that hold a lot of different functions throughout the year. And unfortunately, we just don't have the space to accommodate them. And then there are also, a lot of these little conventions out. There are way more than I knew that were ever out there. And that's more in the wheelhouse of our Convention and Visitors Bureau director. But, we're not able to compete on those just simply because we don't have the facility that we can get in front of the people making decisions on where to locate those types of conferences. So hopefully, if we can eventually move forward with a development of that nature, we can obviously help facilitate, more meetings and events with our existing businesses here in town instead of having to leave Seguin to have those types of events, and then be more competitive from a conference and convention landscape as well. We're also about to kickstart a feasibility study for a recreation center as well. So, this is something that was recommended by the City of Seguin's Parks Master Plan that we completed a few years ago, and now we're starting to move forward with that. So we're going to look and see. Really, is it feasible for the city or a developer or some sort of public-private partnership to build some sort of recreation center, that could include anywhere from like a gym to swimming pools, those types of things. Are we ready to have a project of that nature built in Seguin? So that's about to start as well. And before coming to Seguin, I worked in Cibolo and Shirts, and we're able to kind of see what they were able to accomplish with some of the rec centers that they built in their communities. They specifically partnered with the YMCA, on those deals, and that could be something that we look at here as well. So we know that there's a need for that, and so we're going to start that process as well. And then also, we've got to be proactive about what we're trying to do in terms of recruiting new businesses, specifically industrial businesses, as we go into the future as well. So we've also recently started a project that we're calling our Industrial Real Estate Feasibility Study. And we've partnered with an engineering firm who's helping us identify tracts of land over on the east side of Seguin, specifically focused along the I-10 corridor, the US 90 corridor, and the 130 corridor, again, over on the east side of Seguin. After we identify these sites, they're helping us get a better understanding of what the existing utilities are to those sites, if there are any at all. And then they're helping us put together a game plan of how we can get larger utilities out in that direction to help serve those sites and make them a little bit more shovel ready for development. So that project's underway right now. Again, we're just trying to be, I think, a little bit proactive when it comes to that, because we know, especially on the 130 corridor, you can look up the corridor going up into Austin, Pflugerville, Round Rock, Georgetown area. They've seen tremendous growth along the 130 corridor, and it's slowly but surely starting to trickle south. Obviously the Tesla facility in Austin and Travis County is facilitating that. You're seeing more development in Lockhart now. So we felt, hey, it's headed this way eventually. It might take another 10 years for it to get here, but we'd rather have that game plan in place that we're ready to implement, or maybe even proactively start implementing as well going into the future. So yeah, we're really excited about a lot of these projects. I think it's going to continue to help ensure that Seguin remains economically competitive, from a business standpoint, and also remains an attractive location for, future residents to consider making Seguin their home.
Josh, that's great. Thank you so much for your insights of what's happening in Seguin and the incredible trajectory as far as the growth and the way the city and economic development and the other players have been proactive is just really impressive. So many times this growth thing gets ahead of us and we're always fighting to catch up to it, but it sounds like the city and Economic Development Corporation and the other players have really been intentional about trying to be proactive and plan for this growth so that it doesn't really become a burden for the community, and that's really exciting. Thank you again for being with us today, and we just look forward to anything we can do as a local business now for over 113 years here in Seguin to support the city and the growth, and I know there are other longtime businesses here that are excited to see the trajectory that looks into the future for Seguin. So thanks so much for all you do and the way you guys work together with all the different entities in the city, and it's just pretty exciting for us. Anything else you want to conclude with this morning, John?
No, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here and talk about what's going on in Seguin. We always like to say economic development's a team sport. So, like you alluded to, it takes a village to make a lot of these things happen. A lot of the investments in infrastructure and things like that we're making, that's more working again with, our partners at the county and regional partners and obviously the state as well. But, there's also, connecting businesses with businesses to support each other here in Seguin as well. So, we've got a lot of new businesses coming in that, services that BDI offers, I think really align with, the needs of those businesses that are growing, expanding. So really excited to bring more business in to help, obviously support what we've got here already, and just really excited for the future of Seguin.